number 63. We are the partners of Solarian Games. I'm Jason.
And I'm Peter.
And we are joined this week by
me, Tim Brandon.
All
right.
right.
The other side.
Of the other side, a blog that we love around here and get ideas from. So we're going to be talking about that today. Today's stories, we just got back. Well, I just got back from ShireCon, and we have our own convention, ModCon, coming up next year. We'll talk about that. The Heritage auction site has a big Dungeons and Dragons auction, which is something kind of interesting considering who it's coming from. And we are going to be talking with Tim about his latest article, In Search of Castle Greyhawk. So that will be a fun one for Greyhawk fans. And who knows, maybe Joe Block is in the chat tonight and he'll school us as well. We'll see.
Yeah, he'll tell us what we all got wrong.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's start out with ShireCon. So this was ShireCon number something, 3 or 4, I forget which, but it is put on by Tom Wilson up in North Canaan, Connecticut, in the land of no cell service and no hotels, which is really refreshing, to be honest. The no cell service part, that is. It's kind of nice to be away from things. It really is in the Shire. We've been there before together. Tim, have you been there?
I don't believe I have, no. Well, I've never been to ShireCon, that's for sure.
Well, it is. It started as a 1-day convention. It's now a 2-day convention. It has sort of settled into its new, I would say, permanent location at a VFW, which sounds really, but a lot of smaller cons use VFWs, and they're a great. That's true. If you're getting ready to run a small con, it's actually a really good idea to look at them. They're super welcoming. The place is so nice. There's lots of room inside, of course, but they also have this big outside area, sort of lots of places to hang out, an outdoor bar. They even had vendors outside this time. I want to call out one thing first, though, on the artwork for this year. There are some Easter eggs in here that we really appreciated. And the one specifically, if you kind of crane your neck and look at the tree trunk, you see down there, it says Carpio. So this was this time last year at ShireCon was the last time that all 3 of us were together, James and Peter and I. It was James's last convention. Sadly, he passed away just after the convention. And so I think it was a really nice tribute on their part to put James's name in the tree. The other name was a local kid who also met a tragic end some time back, and I thought it was a nice tribute to him as well. And then the ring, you can see a ring on a thing over there, which is a Lord of the Rings reference, and there's something One Ring about it that I don't remember exactly why it was an Easter egg, but it's there. So it's great art, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice.
So yeah, ShireCon was a blast. Next year, I think when I go, I will be camping at ShireCon, actually. I spoke to the VFW folks. Actually, Tom did on my behalf, and then they came through and said that it would be fine to park overnight there. And since my truck has a tent on it, I'm going to be tent sleeping in the truck because there's no hotels. And we'll see if other people do it too. Who knows?
Hey. Jason, I got 2 more pictures for ShireCon, and you can speak to them.
Oh dear. Oh yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. As long as I hope none of these are a picture of me. I saw the pictures of me. I don't like it.
Hey, I predicted that, and I left it out.
Good. I hope the other one involves some World Wrestling action.
Okay.
But yeah. So I ran Top Secret. No surprise. Ran our latest adventure, which is not yet published. Damn good minivan. David Benavides was a player. Silver Sanderman was a player. A couple of new players that I haven't met before that were awesome. Every adventure goes completely different.
Right.
It's true with a lot of games, D&D games. Everyone goes a little bit different. But I think with a game like Top Secret, every game really goes different because you're not going through a dungeon and just making your way through and clearing the rooms. You're addressing some larger dramatic issue, and everybody's going to do it differently. So this was great. The big bad got to have her monologue, her evil laughs.
Always important.
Oh, it was all great.
There was real minivans at the table.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had a thought. I'm going to bring this up just as a thing with us here. Top Secret is not a miniatures game, of course, right? It's not something tactical like that. But minis are fun. It's nice to show where everything is. Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars are like $1 each, right? You can get so many of these things, but they're not. What they're not is 25 millimeter scale.
No.
Right.
What they are is actually very close to HO scale, like model trains.
Right.
Well, model train, the little people for model trains, you can get a bucket of those for like $20.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it might not be the worst idea to try using HO scale for playing Top Secret.
It could work.
Yeah, because we can never get minis that are modern minis. They're always fantasy or sci-fi. So
Right.
this way we can get modern minis, get them cheap, and you don't need as much room to play. I'm going to try it out.
And we so at the last Rising Phoenix, because we were doing this big sort of like that event that we did, it was a charity event. We had two different tables going at the same time, and there were two groups of people in the same structure. And if things overlapped, we had to know. So we actually used minis for that, but it wasn't like hexes and stuff like that. Like it didn't matter how many spaces you could move. It wasn't for tactical reasons. It was just to keep track. Are you in this room? Are you on this side of the room? That's all it really mattered. It's just like, it wasn't like, oh, move 3 squares or whatever. And it was like, just put your guy wherever you think your figure is, just that's fine. That's just way so that the two administrators could look across and go, okay, there's 3 people in that room and I know who they are. So that would be a good way to do it. Like you could have maps and stuff where they could put the figures down just so you know where people are if something happens.
Yeah. And the thing I was thinking about is that 25 millimeter as a scale for miniatures, it's not gospel. It's a bit of a historical accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tim, I don't know how much your gaming history goes to 1950s and 60s wargaming and stuff like that.
Not so much. Like I say, I joke that my appendix N isn't full of pulp fantasy adventures. It's full of Hammer horror.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
We know that about you. You're a horror fan.
Yeah, I come from that. I come from that direction, but still been playing since the 70s.
I don't know off the top of my head what the scale is for some of the Napoleonic miniatures, but when they're putting armies where you have a tray of multiple figures on the thing, those are not 25 millimeter scale. They're smaller, right?
Yeah, they're a lot smaller.
It's just when D&D got started, the reason they had the monsters they did is they went down to the toy store and they found what they could find, right?
Right.
So I see no reason. Yeah, so I see no reason why we shouldn't just say, hold on a second. We've got HO scale dudes, we've got cars, and there's tons of papercraft for HO scale. So you can make buildings and stuff. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think this is the way to go. I think we should try it.
Sounds good.
And I don't know about where you guys are located, but here we've got, we have a ton of hobby stores that still deal with and still, carry lots of model train material.
Yeah.
And sometimes they carry model trains on one side and, the RPG books on the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you go down to, Michael's Hobbies and stuff like that. There's lots of things you can find. So, so yeah. So ShireCon was a blast. I only ran one thing. Didn't sign up for games in time. I was kind of bummed. There was a BattleTech game that I thought about getting into, and I waited too long. Bummer. And there were some pickup games, but nobody invited me. Boo hoo hoo. So it was all right. Got to hang out with everybody that I wanted to see that was there anyway. So it was nice. Eric Tenkar was there. Scott from Rising Phoenix. Ron came up. Ron, who runs Page, which was great.
Right.
Of course, like I've already mentioned, that David Benavides was there. Spent a lot of time getting to hang out with Stephen Parenteau from TotalCon, Joey Royale, Brian from Arcane Con, all the usual suspects, all the best usual suspects, and of course Hambone. And Ian McGarty helped us sell some stuff at the booth. So overall, it was just a nice, see everybody kind of thing.
Great.
Cool.
And speaking of Stephen Parentow and TotalCon, let's go ahead and make our announcement.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
All right, so we are going to be running our first ever convention. We're doing this. It's going to be, there's 3 of us that are partners. So there's me and Peter and Stephen Parentow from TotalCon, which is so good because we've never done this before and don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, we would not be doing this if Stephen wasn't joining us on this effort. Because I mean, seriously, he really knows what he's doing, and we really don't.
So here's the details. It is going to be May 30th next year at Northampton, Massachusetts, which is Western Mass, Southern Western Mass, kind of in the middle near the bottom. Pretty easy to get to from most places in New England. It is where a lot of colleges are, including Amherst and Smith. We are actually holding this at the Smith College Conference Center, which is a beautiful space, just a beautiful space. It's a one-day convention, so just that Saturday. And it's called ModCon because this is going to be the first ever convention dedicated to modern era tabletop gaming.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that means we decided there's no firm definition for this in the general world. So we came up with one. We said if a game is set in the 20th or the 21st centuries, that's a modern era game. So
great.
Yeah, it basically means if you can use your real world knowledge to figure things out, if it's, that kind of stuff that's helpful, then that kind of helps, that fits. Yeah. So for anybody who's listening, instead of looking, we got the graphic up here, some beautiful artwork by Kaka Katana. So we've got some spies and creatures from wherever, some cyberpunk, some sort of Indiana Jones type stuff, some kids with bikes, the whole thing. So Scott Congable's asking in the chat, will there be lots of top secret? Yes, there will.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So right now, if you go to modcon.games, that's with an S at the end, plural, modcon.games, you can register to run games. We have not started selling tickets yet. And of course, you won't be able to sign up to play games until much closer to the date. But right now, we are in the process of asking people to sign up to run games. So if you have a modern era game that you want to run, we have 4-hour time slots all day long. We're running from 9 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. It's going to be a lot of fun. And please come to ModCon.
Yep. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, that's some dead air there. Let's move on.
Yeah. So next, I think our next one is the auction. What was it? What did you call it?
This is the Heritage Dungeons and Dragons auction.
Yes.
Oh, neat.
I'm gonna.
All right. So, Tim, you know Heritage auctions? You know these guys?
Yes, I do.
How would you characterize them?
Outside of my price range. No, yeah. I mean, so the first Heritage auction, I actually tried to not get involved with, at least try to bid on, with a bunch of 70s and 80s Kenner Star Wars figures. And I thought, oh, well, this should be fun. I'll maybe grab something I'm missing, pick up that blue snaggletooth finally. Mm-hmm. Now everybody and their grandma is on their bidding. So it quickly got to be very popular. It was cool. Some of the stuff they have is fantastic. And I was very impressed. But it's a little, I don't want to say it was completely outside of my price range, but it was fairly outside my price range. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because they are all about the slabbing your comics and stuff like that. Peter, I texted you. I don't know if you saw. If you turn off the page view in there, we'll be able to see this in a more scrolling kind of way. But
turn off the page.
Oh, you're looking at Google Docs. So if you go under View, it says Show Print Layout. You can turn that off. Anyway, so Heritage Auctions, this particular auction, it's a lot of classic first edition OD&D, that era, 1970s, 1980s, Dungeons and Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons adjacent type things. what was kind of standing out to me though was not necessarily the items they have, because everything in there is almost everything in the auction is something you could get anywhere. It's not, I mean, I'm not saying it's not rare, but it's not one-offs. There's a few bits of ephemera that I do want to talk about. But what I thought was really interesting was the way it's being presented. So like on the screen right now, you can see there's a slabbed and graded Descent into the Depths of the Earth. And there's a lot of controversy right now in the collector's world about slabbing modules.
Exactly.
You've been hearing all of that?
Yeah, I mean, and most of it has been fairly negative, to be honest with you, because everybody's worried that what's going to happen when you do this, especially with the grading, you're going to see the same issues that have been coming up in the comic book world.
Such
as just price, people not getting things, not the mostly price inflation is what I'm hearing, or that the items that you're getting are not exactly as they are being portrayed as. Like, I understand why you would want this as a collector. D1, D2 is a fantastic adventure. I love playing it. But see, that's it. My point of view is that these are things that need to be played, not sitting in my collection somewhere. I mean, granted, they are sitting in my collection. I'm not currently running this. I took my kids through it. Now my son, they're playing Cyberpunk right now. They're going to switch over to AD&D here in a few more hours. So eventually,
that's great. I'm jealous of your son.
Oh yeah,
jump from Cyberpunk to AD&D in the same
night. Everybody in their group does. That's why I'm not in my game room. I'm upstairs in my wife's office now. Because last time we chatted, I was in my game room. They've got it, but everybody goes through the different players, and they get to choose something to either play or run.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I'm in the same boat as I'm on the same page as you are about. I'm very negative about things being slabbed because I want things to be played, and I don't really care. I mean, there should be a few pristine examples still out in the world, so somebody can look at it and say this is how they were made, and then that's fine.
Right.
But the main thing for me is the price inflation you're talking about, because it seems like when you get into slabbing things and grading things, you also get speculators. And this has not yet happened, as far as I know, with tabletop gaming, but there are some collector communities where speculators have come in and they've pulled some shenanigans where they've had shill bidders drive the price of something up so that the next time it goes on sale, there's a record of how high, what it's worth. And that just leads to a collapse later, which then leads to things getting thrown out, and then leads to things not being preserved, ironically.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of these examples. So the first one, pretty decent. So now keep in mind, there's still a bunch of days left on this thing. I don't remember how many. I can go take a quick peek. Looks like they've still got 17 days left. Okay, so this is the price in the middle of the auction. So what we're seeing here is probably going to shoot way up. But so I put in here their current bid, and the number you see in parentheses is the actual price that the buyer is going to pay, because they have to pay the auction house extra money on top of it. So right now, the current bid for Descent into the Depths of the Earth, with over 2 weeks left, is I'm going to give the full price, $186.
Right.
And I went for each one of these things, and I just looked to see historically what's the most they've sold for on eBay in comparable condition, really great condition. What's the highest they've gone? $200 is the top for this one. I don't think it's worth $200 in mint condition, to be perfectly honest, but maybe that's because I still have all these.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anyway, so now if we keep going, the next one gets a little bit wacky. Here we have a Menser Red
Holy
box.
crap.
Oh man, that's not worth that.
No, it's not. So a Menser Red box with over 2 weeks left is currently at $775 bid price, which means the buyer is going to have to pay $930 for this. Somebody's going to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on this red box.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd spend that on I didn't spend that much on my OD&D set.
No, me neither.
So
So and so yes, the red box here is in the shrink, but as anybody who's ever gone to a high-end collector's auction will tell you, especially if Bill Meinhardt is there to say it, shrink is not a oh no, I forgot the word. Shrink wrap is not a what's the word?
Guarantee?
No, quality. What's the word for quality? Condition. Shrink
Yeah.
is not a condition.
Ah.
right.
You can damage something can get damaged in the shrink.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It
So
looks like this one has something going on up in the corner there, maybe.
well, this is the nature of shrink wrapping, because you know, Peter, we've sat around and shrink wrap things before. Shrink wrapping is inconsistent.
It's totally inconsistent.
And over time, the air gets in, blah, blah, blah. But this one, it's going to go for $1,000 or $2,000. The highest price I could find recently on eBay for a shrink-wrapped Menser set was $150.
Right.
Oh, God.
And I would say that's fair. $150 for a shrink-wrapped is fair. But if you're buying one that's not shrink-wrapped, pay $100 for it, no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if I paid that much. I didn't get into the BECMI system when it first started. I was a BX guy, so I picked mine all up, afterwards. I still didn't pay that much for that. I mean,
right? I've got the full Benser set that goes from basic to Immortals.
Yeah, I don't have an expert. That's all I'm missing.
Yeah, I have all of them. I don't think I paid more than $100 for any of them. Mostly about $50 a pop. And when they were brand new, they were about $60 or $70 in today's money.
Yeah.
But you mentioned BX, so the next thing we have here is a BX. Here's a Moldvay expert set. So Moldvay is the second. So you have Holmes, then Moldvay, then Menser. A Moldvay expert set, which is right now at a reasonable price of $350, which is $420 sold. And these, in shrink in mint condition, they do go for $400 or $500.
Yeah, I've seen the dice inside go for at least that much.
Yes. So fair enough. Although it'll probably go for a lot more. And you know what? The next one, they have a brown box, which totally fair price if it's sold for that today.
Yeah.
They have two of these, and they're both about the same price. They're both hovering around the $6,000 range, which will be about $7,000 when they sell. A brown box, if you pay $6,000 or $7,000 for a brown box, you're getting not a bargain, but a good deal.
Yeah.
The highest one has gone for in ever, as far as I know, it was about $23,000.
Huh.
Why?
That was a very special one. It was in unbelievable condition. It looked like it had just come off the shelf, and it had a provenance to it, and it even had some rare typewritten things in there. It was found in somebody's garage, and it was traced back to Michael Bernard. It had a provenance.
Okay.
But I have to be honest, if I had $10,000 to spend on a brown box set, I would not spend it.
Yeah.
On a brown box set. But that's fair. Now we get crazy. There's a Monster and Treasure assortment, set 3. There was several of these. It's a 3-hole punch. Those holes are supposed to be there. It's meant to go into a binder. It's just monsters and treasure for basic D&D. And the highest they go for on eBay is $70. You can pick these up for $40 or $50 all day long. Whoever buys it today with over 2.5 weeks left is going to be paying $660.
Jesus Christ.
My local game store has those sitting on a shelf that you can buy still.
Yeah.
Granted,
and you know what?
They're not cheap, but
something like that, I got to tell you, that is ripe for counterfeiting, because it would be so easy to make one that looked exactly like it. And
yeah, it's not difficult.
There's some things I have in my collection that are not actual originals, and I'm very careful to label them as such, right? So I have a real TSR belt buckle from back in the day that I got for free because Frank Menser gave it to me as a gift, which was nice. And then I have a fake one, which I bought because it was cheap. And I have actually taken a little laser engraver, and I've etched reproduction into the back of it so that nobody ever thinks it's real.
Mhm.
I have things that I have shrink wrapped so that I can keep them safe. And I put a piece of paper inside the shrink wrap that says reshrink, and I put the date that I reshrinked it. I don't think most people are necessarily that careful. So it'd be very easy to make a fake and fool somebody with these.
Yeah, I see what honestly I believe are fake orange B3 modules, the Palace of the Silver Princess.
Yes.
And those come up every so often.
Well, that kind of stuff happens in the art world all the time, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
And it's so much easier to fake these than it is to fake a comic, for example.
Right.
You know, so and I'm sure once the scammers start finding this out, we're going to see more of that. So I won't go through all of these, but a few more. So there's some of the UK ones where Chaos Reigns, which sells for $77, is currently at a $750 price.
Jesus Christ.
The Assassin's Knot, which is an awesome adventure, but it's, you know, in perfect condition, is worth $100, is going for $700. 5 coins for a kingdom worth $80, going for $750. So we're seeing some real inflation here. Exactly what you were worried about, Tim.
That's it.
Yeah, those are the ones I picked out. They actually have about 150 items on there.
Yeah, they have a lot going on there.
The one thing that I noticed that I actually am going to bid on, and I'm disappointed that these things are going cheap. There is some original Janelle Jacquet's artwork.
Oh, nice.
In there, and I have lost my link to the auction, so I'm going to go by memory here. There were 2 pieces of original Janelle Jacquet's artwork done for products. They have no bids on them.
Wow. Okay.
They're sitting at nothing right now. So
the website's ha.com for heritage auctions.
So nobody bid on those. I'm going to get them for $1. No, honestly, if I were to win those for $1, I would give those to her wife, because
exactly.
I would absolutely donate those because they're originals. But I'm just bummed because Janelle Jacquet's is one of the greatest talents we've ever had in the tabletop industry. She tragically passed away recently in the past year or two from some health complications that I don't think should have happened, and it was a huge loss for the industry, and so I think everybody should be collecting anything they can find of hers.
Right.
I
remember, I remember talking to her a few times because she's actually from the same part of the state that I was.
Oh, cool.
And so we didn't live all that far from each other at one point. And it was, it's just kind of interesting talking about some of that stuff because I, and it's apropos of the discussion later. It's another in search of topic that I'm working on that I have to get a lot of data for. And I talked to Janelle. Of course, I spent a lot for this one, and I won't spoil it yet. But I talked to her a lot. I talked to Tim Kask all the time about this. Tim Kask and I went to the same university too.
Oh, really?
So,
not at the same time.
No, not the same.
No. If you did, you're looking great, dude.
Yeah, right?
No, thanks. No, we went to the same university, Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. So we got to talk, and apparently his brother lived in the same dorm area that I did, and we talked about the shenanigans that used to go on there, that was going on there in the 60s and 70s and continued on in the 80s and 90s. So it was fun. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. It is related though to today's topic.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Janelle also not only in the tabletop industry was also really important in the video gaming industry with her work with like id Software and Coleco. And her wife Rebecca is a huge name in all of that too. I mean, this is like the nerd power couple, So
I mean, how many other people have a documentary on them?
Right.
I mean, Rebecca has a documentary about her, so come on.
Yeah, so cool. So anyway, people are slabbing things and selling them like Superman #1 comics on Heritage. I don't know if this is going to become a trend, but I wanted to call it out.
Yeah, I know. I've got a game auction I'm going to on Friday. So
no, shut up. Where? What?
Games Plus here in Chicago burbs.
I love Games Plus. What are you going to be seeing? Is it a live auction?
Oh yeah, it's a live auction. I'm going there Friday night. So
is there an online aspect to it?
No, there isn't.
Can I proxy bid you?
You know what? You look on their website.
Okay.
And not their website, excuse me, their Facebook page. That usually the day before they start showing pictures.
Okay. I know probably you and I are going to want the same thing, so you'll be like, no, I'm not proxying you on that. But if there's anything you don't,
You know what? I'm not actually going to be. I'm trying to be good this year, not spending a bunch.
I know, but I've only been to
There's
Games
no.
Workshop or to Games Plus a few times, and that place is a treasure trove.
Oh, isn't it though? It's fantastic.
Hey, look at Chet's comment here. Chet says,
Oh,
I did a whole bunch of artwork for her Legends of Heroes system that unfortunately will never see the light of day now.
Oh no,
that is a shame.
That sucks. Sorry,
Yeah.
Chet.
Yeah, but I mean, the one thing to think of is at least she saw that artwork. She loved that artwork. It meant something
Yeah.
to her. That's worth holding on to.
yeah, yeah. Bug me later. Their auction this year, they started their take in Saturday morning, and by noon they were already filled for their board game auction.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's good for
Well,
them.
I'm going to put the word out because, to anybody who's listening. If anybody ever finds a Gorgon Star version of Titan, the board game Titan, that's my white whale right now.
Okay. Gotcha.
I've had this as a white whale for years. Back when I first started doing Gygax magazine and working with Ernie, we would play Titan over at Ernie's house, and it was so much fun. And it was just he would just pull out his original, Gorgon Star copy just because he didn't care if it was valuable. He just wanted to play.
That's right.
So much fun, and so I want that. We were at Page last year. One of them went up on auction. I walked away just assuming I could never afford it. It went so cheap.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah.
My current thing is I'm sure I'm not going to see it, is I want one of the Spanish language versions of the Dungeon game.
Oh. So I have every English language version. I did not even know there was Spanish language.
So there's a Spanish one and a German one, and I want both.
Do you have the Australian one?
I don't believe I do.
Then you don't have every English language.
I have everyone published. I have everyone published in America.
I just finally got the Australian one recently, so I'm done with my English ones. But yeah, we got to talk about this stuff. We'll have fun.
Yeah, we'll do that. Maybe that's next time. We'll pull out our dungeon collection if I get a Spanish one. That is.
I just want to call out one last thing before we move on to here for Chet. That he said. Well, you already said the part about doing the artwork, but he said, that they became good friends, and I'm not surprised because good people like good people. So
yeah. All right, we ready for our main topic?
Bum, bum, bum. It's the main event.
Oh man, that's me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So,
look at me.
like
There
I mentioned, Tim, I read your blog regularly. I've got it in my RSS. I've got my RSS feed set up to alert me whenever you do something.
Oh, well, which is like every day, unfortunately, because I can't stop.
There's loads of fun stuff in it, and this one really jumped out at me. So you did a show. You did a post in search of Castle Greyhawk. I'm a huge aficionado of every kind of history there is about our hobby, and specifically the stuff that Gary did, and the evolution of Greyhawk in particular. And so I was just really happy to see you did this. So why don't you give why don't I just keep drinking the bourbon here? Go away, boy! You bother me.
Say son.
Of course, I gotta lean in. I can't even see anymore.
So give us a little overview. We're going to talk about the history of Castle Greyhawk in its publication history and its evolution. But let's start with the way that you've organized this here. Give us a little rundown.
With this one, I actually had, and I even mentioned there in the very first line that I had started this post originally years ago, and I started putting everything together. And then the post I made way back then, I don't even remember when that was.
June 3rd, 2015. It has been over a decade since you started this.
So exactly. I started it then, and then at the time I was like, well, I really don't need to say anything because, Joe Block, the Greyhawk Grognard pretty much said everything that I had planned to say.
And I will say, he had the first comment. He was first commenting on your blog. He was the very first one.
Exactly, because he was commenting that he was going to do something. Well, okay, great. And he did do something. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that this came back together are so digging into the history of my blog here, you might, longtime readers might remember that my old high school DM passed away rather suddenly.
Yes.
And we hadn't seen each other. He was living in a different part of the state, but he was married and he had his kids, and I'm married and I have my kids. And we never really got to see much of each other. And until recently, they had been up at him and his wife had been up to medieval times here in the Chicago burbs. I'm like, dude, you are literally down the street from me. I mean, I can walk to medieval times. I'm not going to, but yeah, just about. It's still maybe about a mile. It's still 2 miles, but that's what.
Yeah, but you can walk 2 miles.
Yeah. My wife and I walk 3 miles every night, so that's fine. But anyway, he was down there. I said, "Oh, well, we got to get together." So we did. And that was great. I got just to see him, and then that was like in the summer, and then that December he dropped dead, which is awful, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But his widow got a hold of me. And she said, "Hey, I have a bunch of his books. Do you want them?" And of course, I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want them." And I'm going through the stuff, and in it are some of my books, some of my first edition books, because I'd lost much of my first edition.
So, how?
Just moving. I mean, I moved from Carbondale to Chicago, and then Chicago to the burbs, and there were just lots of moves. And I couldn't remember what happened. Yeah, just it's just normal stuff.
You're coked up. You're running on speed. You've been smoking the crack. Your trailer falls off your car. Goes into a lake. It happens to all of us.
That's right. Especially the closer you get to Iowa and Wisconsin.
Anyway, crack capital of the world is Iowa.
You're trading some of your valuable books in for a hit every now and then.
That's right. Yeah. Well, as it turns out,
we get it.
We get it. Yeah. So as it turns out, he actually had a couple of my books that he was using, which is fantastic. I mean, once I started flipping through them, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember letting him borrow these 30 years ago." Right. So in it was my copy of WG7 Castle Greyhawk, and then the Greyhawk Ruins book. So
I'll tell you right now, although I guess technically I could be defined as a collector and avid historian, blah, 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 fan of history, I do never know what people are saying when they say the numbers, WG7. I don't know. I don't know the numbers.
The first two books in that picture.
I know the U series, and that's all I know.
Yeah. So anyway, they were there, and I started going through them, and I'm like, "Oh, this is great." It's good to see these. I forgot how much I hated that, Castle Greyhawk, first Castle Greyhawk adventure. So I
mean the joke one?
Especially the joke one. My God, that one's awful. I hate it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going through it. I already had Ruins of Castle Greyhawk, and I believe I have that signed by people. I don't know. I have to look. I had Joe Block's Castle of the Mad Archmage, although my son actually had absconded with it, and he was going to run it for a while.
Oh.
And I just got back from Gary Con, and I picked up because I go to Gary Con with Elflair Games. So we've got our booth, but of course Jason with Elflair also does a lot of work for the Troll Lords. So we got, they came by and we ended up trading a bunch of books. So I got a copy of the Castle Zagig, the new hardcover.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I got all this stuff. What does it all mean? I mean, what is it all being put together? So I decided to resurrect this post of Search of Castle Greyhawk. And I started just going through and figuring out, well, what was Castle Greyhawk? What was it in history? And what was it that we actually saw in print? And are any of those things close to being the same thing? And they're probably not. And I go through it. Of course, I like to give a little bit of, when I do these in search of posts, I don't want to just sit here and do a deep dive and do all sorts of research, which I absolutely love doing. But I want to give people something that they can actually use as well. So I also started thinking about, okay, great. I've got all these Castle Greyhawks. What if all of them are real? All of them exist
at
the same time. And not only that, maybe they all exist on different planes, and maybe they all exist, as a means of, you know, each castle is connected to the other one in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
They're just all on different worlds because that's why it's called Castle Zagig on,
Yeah.
in the Castles and Crusades, Siege Engine universe, or Castle of the Mad Archmage in Adventures Dark and Deep in Joe's universe, or Castle Greyhawk and three different ones in various D&D universes, because I got first edition, second edition, and third edition up here.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, and then of course I was thinking, well, what if it's like Alt Guild Hall? Now, if you go to any university, if you're a student, you go to any Illinois university, there's an Alt Guild Hall named from Governor Altgeld. All of them are Gothic
I
revival.
didn't know this.
Yeah, they're all Gothic revival castles. Not a single one of them looks like the other, though.
Mm-hmm.
The long-standing rumor, which unfortunately I discovered isn't true, but it was such a fun rumor I couldn't let it go, is that if you took all of the Alt Guild halls, at Southern and Northern and U of I, and you assembled them together, it would make a complete castle system.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought that was fantastic. And Alt Guild Hall is just a cool looking building. At least it was on the Southern campus.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that turned out not to be true. They don't assemble into a castle. They all are castles, but they don't assemble into a larger one. I'm like, okay, fine. It's not true for Alt Guild Hall. What if it's true for Castle Greyhawk? Okay. All the different Castle Greyhawks, they assemble. Now, do they assemble in the way we think they do? No. Why? Because the guy who made it, the Mad Archmage Zagig, is insane.
Yeah, just a mad Archmage.
He's mad. So that
mad.
They make sense in some extraplanar, dimensional, physics that we don't understand. But if we could look at it from his point of view, then all of these castles assemble into one large castle complex. And that was
I always kind of think of the Mad Archmage as Bloody Stupid Johnson from Discworld.
Oh yeah. See, I think of him more. I tend to think of him more as like Ludwig the Mad, the guy who built all the castles in Bavaria.
Yeah, I guess it's just where my brain goes.
So that was that, and I just spent a lot of time going through each one of these books, each one of these adventures, and talking about what was. And I go the farther down you go, I go into more detail. So I've got the Castle Greyhawk and Greyhawk. I forget exactly what that one's called.
Greyhawk Ruins.
Yeah, at least my least favorite cover of them all.
Which one? Greyhawk Ruins?
Yeah, Greyhawk Ruins.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
It's not evocative,
Peter.
If you click on it, it gets bigger.
Who's the artist for this?
Good question. Don't have a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Whatever. It's not the greatest, but
the art talent is not bad. The image is just not.
Yeah, the image isn't evocative. I look at that and it's like, okay, so there's what it's supposed to be, a dryad? Is it a washerwoman? What is it?
I'm gonna make a little tangential statement here. I still think the worst artwork from that era is better than 80% of the artwork that you can get today.
I like some of the artwork.
But that's me doing the whole my favorite band's first album was the best album.
It's
true. Not because it was technically the best, because it had the heart, man. So that's all it is.
It's all right. Jason is screaming at the clouds of D&D.
That's right.
No, it's okay.
But and I went through and I just basically I talked about what I liked about each one, or sometimes what I disliked about it, and how I saw them all fitting. There's of course at the time this was all of the print products for Castle of the Mad Archmage that I had.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So these different books, okay, adventure book, map book, illustration. Okay.
So there's a one for old school play. There's one for 5th edition, and then the map book and the illustration book goes with anything. Now, of course, there's a Pathfinder one, but I don't believe there's a print for it.
Okay.
Okay.
And he has a 10th anniversary, 20th anniversary. I mean, I don't know. No, 10th anniversary version out, and I have all the links to everything.
Right.
And
all right. Now I'm going to require you to pronounce the Castles and Crusades, Castle Zagig, whatchama?
Ygsburg.
Seriously? Say it again.
Ygsburg.
Ygsburg.
Yeah, that's why I always pronounce it. I could be wrong. We should get the Troll Lords guys on to pronounce it for us.
So hold on, going with this Troll Lords for a second. So all of Gary's stuff that they had got taken out of print for legal reasons. And now, as far as I understand, all of those legal issues have been resolved. Are they all back in print?
They're not back in print yet,
but they will be.
They will be. Yeah. They're working on getting them all back in print, and not only that, they want to, Troll Lords has I think a fear of staying still. I mean,
as you should. I mean, if you're a business and you stay still, you're in trouble.
Steven is a great guy. I think they're all fantastic. So they're taking this opportunity, which I think is smart, to be honest with you, to take the Gygax material that they already have in print and then update it, clean it up, and put it out there in print. So if you have if you were lucky enough to get some of the older stuff, fantastic.
Which I was, yeah.
And now if you go and buy the newer stuff, you're not rebuying, 90% of the same text. Yes, you're probably going to be rebuying 75% of the same text or less, but there's still going to be new material there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it either way, because it was very hard to get any of that during the time when a certain woman with the initials G Gygax was blocking them from it.
Right.
And so I think people should have access to it. It's Gary's work. It's great work.
It is.
Updating it's great too, but if they just reprinted it exactly as it was, I would have been happy with that too.
True, and it takes time to do it. Now, in Gail's defense, I think she was getting bad advice from some people.
Well, I don't know who. She was getting bad advice from some people, but she followed it.
True, but I mean, look, we know that Gary thought of Castles and Crusades as being the spiritual successor to AD&D.
Which is totally fair, because what was the name of the society that was around at the beginning?
Exactly.
Castles and Crusades Society.
And we know that this is not even, honestly, I didn't even think this material was really up for debate. I mean, it appears in almost every modern discussion or book about the history of TSR, how Gygax went to Stephen channel, and they just they were hanging out together all the time.
Yeah,
and he wanted to do stuff with them. I mean, Castles and Crusades saved more or less what became of Legendary Journeys.
Yeah. I mean, let's be fair. Legendary Journeys was never going to be the next D&D.
No, it wasn't. And I I created characters for it, and I talked about. You probably saw me talking about them. On the blog. So I mean, it was an interesting experiment, but I don't think it really was designed to go anywhere.
The thing about Gary, and I'm going to be saying this as somebody with not enough. I don't have the standing or the knowledge to speak authoritatively on this. I'm just going to say that right at the outset. But I'm going to give my opinion, which is the thing about Gary is that his genius was in how hard he worked. He was so prolific. He cared so much. He worked so hard. And so when he wrote D&D, and he did write D&D. Yes, Dave Arneson was the other, provided ideas, but in Dave Arneson's own words, not a single word of Dave Arneson's work ever showed up in D&D. Not one word.
Right.
So Gary did all the hard work, and that was his genius, was being a hard worker who cared.
A hard worker and a great promoter of what it was he was doing.
Yeah, a great promoter, but I'm always a little hesitant to call anybody a great promoter, because I feel like people discount that.
I know, and they shouldn't really, because if it hadn't been for that, I mean, they'd still, D&D would be still largely confined to, a handful of gamers in the upper Midwest. I mean, it was largely a Wisconsin, Minnesota thing.
The credit I'll give him as a great promoter is the way he promoted was by being a gamer.
Yeah.
And, being involved in the community. A lot of I don't want to make any comparisons here. I'm not making a comparison here, but Kelsey with Shadow Dark recently, one of the greatest things she did was being really good at being part of the community.
Right.
And Gary was great at that. I guess that's a preamble to the fact that I don't think that he had a uniquely special genius as a game designer.
Yes, because there's a lot of things.
Yeah, other people were better game designers than Gary, let's be honest. And so when he did Legendary Adventures, it was too late. The moment had passed. It was a good game, but it wasn't, a world-changing game.
I'd argue that it wasn't all that good either.
Well, okay, fair
enough. I mean, look, Gary doesn't have to write Gary didn't have to write another good game. He wrote Dungeons and Dragons.
That's enough for a lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He didn't need everything else was, everything else was like side quest, or should have been.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that if Dave Arneson had never come to him with the ideas that he did,
right,
there's a chance that Gary would have done what he did anyway. I'm not saying for sure he would have. We'll never know. It's a counterfactual.
Right.
But there's a chance. On the other hand, if Gary had never done the work, the ideas Dave Arneson had would have died in a notebook.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep,
yeah. And that should never be underplayed, because the person who makes things happen is just as important as anyone who creates anything, because you talk to people, and not everybody, but there's a lot of people who have really good ideas. You talk to them, oh, that's a really cool idea.
Everybody has an idea, whether they're good or not, but everybody's got an idea.
And we've said this before, Jason, when you and I agree on this, and I've said this at conventions, sitting on panels and stuff. I'm like, when people have good ideas and they're afraid to share them with somebody because they're afraid somebody's going to steal them, my phrase for that is always, if anybody has the ability to put something out, they already have 10 ideas they're not putting out themselves. They're not going to steal your idea.
Right.
They're already got too many things that they're not doing yet. So don't sweat it, and if they love your idea and want to steal it, they've got to do all the work. Yeah. Let's see them. Yeah. Go for it. Let's see you do it.
In my day job world, I work in tech. And I've been around the startup industry, and actually in the startup industry on and off for longer than I want to admit. And the one thing you find out is that the inexperienced founders, the first-time founders, the ones that don't know what's going on, are the ones that are making you sign NDAs and that are worried about getting their stuff stolen. And the experienced founders know the truth, which is that ideas are 5%. Execution is the other 95%.
Right.
So it's all about executing. So anyway, to get back to the Castle Zagig.
Yeah. I said ideas are cheap.
Yeah, I'm sure you are the same. I've got notebooks filled with ideas. It doesn't matter. It's which ones do you do.
Right.
So to go back to Castle Zagig, all these things kind of out here. You were saying the Castles and Crusades kind of carried on that legacy.
Right, they did. It's just a quick aside. If we scroll down and look at these maps, these are the maps from inside the book of Castle Zagig. These are done by Darlene.
Nice.
They're amazing maps. I mean,
well, they're amazing maps. And let's be honest. If you've ever met Darlene in person, she's just absolutely the sweetest. She is the best.
She's very humble.
Very. I mean, I don't know if she knew the level of respect that her work was getting among so many people.
Yeah.
I think now she sees it now, because I see her. I mean, she's at GaryCon every year. I make an effort to go see her and say hi. I try to make an effort to buy something.
I always buy originals from Darlene. I don't even care if they're worth anything any day. I just want them.
Yeah, she did some for me. I take them and I just stick them all in my, in my World of Greyhawk box.
Yeah. I was going to go grab one of my originals off the shelf, but I'm not going to mess with our show right now. But yeah, she's amazing. And
she's great. I'm so happy that, she's getting the opportunity to do stuff. And I'm happy that, Troll Lords are giving her the opportunity to do stuff like this as well. So that's great.
Yeah, Troll Lords do great things. They got the printing plant coming up.
Yep.
I want to go through the history of Castle Greyhawk. First of all. So let's go back to the beginning. So Castle Greyhawk, right? It starts out as sort of an offshoot of Blackmore in a sense, right? Would you agree with that?
I think so there's a lot of things I was reading, and I'm going to admit from the onset here, my knowledge of this is deep, but it is not as much as other people. I mean, there are people. I'm certain that there are people who are watching right now who know far more than I do.
I'm wide
And
and narrow. I'm wide and shallow.
yeah,
I will
so
say that right now. I do not either have a deep knowledge. But
my
from what I know,
yeah,
so Blackmore is the first. Blackmore is basically the first D&D. It's not a
right,
game that could be published, but it was the first thing that looked that you if you went back in time to the year 1500, you would recognize English. If you went back to the year 1000, you would not, right?
right.
So there's this, like, you can kind of think, people talk about this historically. How far back in time could you go and still understand what somebody was saying in English? And
Mhm.
similarly, how far back could you go in gaming and still recognize role playing?
Right.
Um, you could make the case that Major Wesley's Bronstein was the first role playing game. You could make the case that Diplomacy was. You could make the
Right.
case that anything was. But if you said how far back in time could you go and still kind of feel like you're playing D&D or a role playing game, it would be Blackmore.
Hmm.
And so the first Great Castle Greyhawk was, as I understand it, basically something that existed in that context. And Gary even used an actual Bodenberg Castle model as what he was playing for Castle Greyhawk the first time.
Hmm.
So Bodenberg Castle, for those who don't know, it's it's just a kit, not even a kit. I think you could just buy it as is, and it was from one of these companies that made things for war gamers, so that they could do a castle siege,
Right.
and David Wesley, used it as his model for Brownstein, which was kind of where we get role playing from. And so Gary just said, "Hey, it's a castle. I'll buy it too." And that was the first Castle Greyhawk. It was Bodenberg
Hmm.
Castle. And then it evolves and it ends up as the Greyhawk booklet. And you see it in the Gord the Rogue novels. You see
Right.
all these kind of early things. But how does Castle Greyhawk go from that early stage where it really wasn't meant to be a product, it was meant to just be a setting that Gary could play with his friends, to becoming um, a product that could be recognizable as Greyhawk Castle?
Well, so here's what I have always felt about that. Gary always talked about Castle Greyhawk, and it was something. It was a storied adventure. I mean, everybody within Gary's orbit knew of Castle Greyhawk
Mm-hmm.
because they likely had been through it. Um, of course, then you get people right outside of it, and the further out you get from that, the more I think that people thought this has to be, you know, not just the first dungeon. This has to be the best, the first killer dungeon that
Yeah.
ever occurred. And I think it largely grew on reputation as and less of a product. I don't
Yeah,
believe
that's fair.
I don't believe Castle Grayskull was ever really intended to be something to be packaged up and sold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had some, like I said, I have had some conversations with Tim Cass, and he talked about we were talking about the history that Southern Illinois played in the creation of D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about how there were some characters that showed up in the strategic review
Mm-hmm.
that later made it into the printed Rogues Gallery. And he said those were some of the first characters ever created at SIU, and that these characters
Southern Illinois University.
University, yes, and that how and in the process of talking about that, we had talked about how there were these adventures that they played, and he's like, we never planned on publishing these things.
Right. Okay.
We didn't think about this. We thought everybody else was going to make their own. And I don't think Castle Grayskull was ever intended to be published. I think it was a
That's
dynamic
fair.
thing. I think it was a dynamic thing that Gary always put together. I mean, we know that he had a piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it got merged with Rob Kunz's El Raja Key,
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Thank you for bringing
So
up Analogic Key.
we'll come back to that in detail.
Yes.
But the point I'm getting to with all of this is, and I make this, as the ending point of my post is, this was never a static thing. This was something that was always changing, always growing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it was a test bed, I
Mm-hmm.
think, oftentimes for Gary to try out new ideas. I mean,
Mhm.
we know that this is probably where the cleric came from, and its
Oh,
ability
really?
to, and its ability to
Say
turn
more.
on, yeah, its ability to turn undead because somebody
Mm-hmm.
wanted to play a vampire character.
Oh, I didn't know this.
So, which like I said, I've said in the past, my background, I come to D&D not through Appendix N, but through Hammer. And so the first character I played was a cleric. I didn't play him as a priest. I played him
Mm-hmm.
as Van Helsing.
That's
So,
great.
I mean,
Nice.
it was Peter Cushing in my mind, and so
Mm-hmm.
and I played a cleric very specifically, so I had a character that could fight undead. I could go after some vampires. Damn it, to me that was adventure.
That's
But
great.
all that aside, again, I don't think this was something that was ever designed to be sold. I don't think it was something that was ever
Yeah, I
designed
think
to
you're
be
right about that.
a complete product. Now, that's not to say it couldn't have been. I mean, at what point between, let's say, 1973, when Gary and co are assembling all their notes to create this, weird ass hobby of ours,
Yeah.
and 1983, or even 1985, right before, you know, he unfortunately gets kicked out of his own company. Did he at any point in that time decide, what, maybe Castle Greyhawk would be a good product
Right.
to print? I mean, I'm sure it probably was mentioned somewhere in Dragon Magazine. I mean, think about that was our internet in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what was going on in these, unless you were going to conventions all the time, which I wasn't. I was in a tiny little town in the middle of the state. I didn't know what was going on except what I read in Dragon and what I heard, was rumor from other gamers.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for me, we did have a pretty good rumor pipeline from where I was, because that's where, stuff would flow from Lake Geneva to Chicago, through the state down to Southern, where there was still a huge active player base.
Mm-hmm.
And we did hear things. So I heard of Castle Greyhawk. I couldn't tell you how I heard about it. I knew of it. And when Castle Greyhawk WG7 came out in 87, I was like, oh, wow, great. We're finally getting Castle Greyhawk.
Mm-hmm.
And we got what we got. So,
And
yeah.
I think the thing there is that Castle Greyhawk took on this legendary status, like you say. People all had talks about it's got 100 levels and it's the first mega dungeon. And who knows what existed and what didn't. But ultimately, it was just somebody making notes in a notebook and playing with their friends.
Right.
Yeah. I was just looking it up to try to see if I could find anything in Dragon Magazine. There's definitely lots of Greyhawk stuff in there, but I don't think, from what I'm looking at, that there was anything about the castle.
And I don't remember either. And I'm thinking back to my This Old Dragon series.
I'm digging into Dragonfoot right now and just looking through some forums.
Well, they would know.
Somebody in there would know.
Yeah, those guys are the OD&D and Greyhawk experts, really.
Yeah, this is where Gary chose to have his discussions, not N-World. So they're the place, yeah.
Right. So, but that's to say, I mean, there's reality, and then there's what we perceive to be reality. And for me, it was the perception of reality that colored what I was doing in the 80s. I don't know what was actually true. And I don't even remember what I thought was actually true. I do remember knowing about Castle Greyhawk. I don't remember how I found out about it. And like I said, it was enough so that when the first adventure of it came out, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get this. And I need to, I got to go through it. And it was remarkably disappointing. Let me tell you. I mean, it was so bad. There's actually an entire level in the game that when I was running it, I had the players go by, and I think I even said, okay, in front of you, you see a door. It says, entrance to level 7 or whatever. It was the one that was all the damn food puns.
Oh
Where
yes.
with Ronald McDonald was fighting Colonel Sanders on it. I said, and then I put a banner across the door like police tape, and I said, level shut down due to food fight. Please proceed to next level. And I gave everybody. I said, okay, here's the experience points you would have got if you'd gone through this. I'm giving them to you for free because what I'm getting for free out of this is not having to run you through it.
You know, I think this is what people actually need to remember is when you think about, today in the year of our Lord 2025, we've gotten so distanced and so separated from the 1970s.
Right.
And it's easy for us to mythologize some of it. But it was a bunch of kids who were nerds who had the kind of sense of humor that nerdy kids do.
Right.
And it's going to have stuff like that. And it was just people having fun.
Yes.
So if you try to recreate it now, I think, all right. Luke Gygax. Luke used to run a thing at GaryCon every year. At Gen Con every year called Tower of Gygax.
Right.
You remember that? You played in that?
No, I didn't play in it. I wanted to, and here's my terrible Gygax story. I was going to one year, and something else came up. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't even really that important. I blew it off and said, I can come back next year and see Gary. Yeah, that was the year. So, and then, of course, what did I do after that? The very next year, I ran into Dave Arnson, talked to him for a bit, and I'm like, I should have got his autograph on this stupid 4th edition Blackmore product that they were selling. I'll go back. I'll get it from him next year.
Yeah.
So
I do that sometimes.
I don't do that anymore. I harass Tim Kask and Frank Metzner every time I see them.
Yeah. So, but I guess So I like to play Tower of Gygax because I imagined it as being something a lot like going through Castle Greyhawk. And the thing is, Castle Greyhawk, and we're getting a little close on time here, so let's start going to the wrap up. I'm going to give my point of view, and then you can counterpoint me.
Sure.
I think Castle Greyhawk is a state of mind. Castle Greyhawk is about playing a castle that is inspired by Gary. You might have things that are written by Gary. I think if you were to sit down and play with Frank today or Tim today and say, let's go through a dungeon, you would get something a lot like the experience you would get playing Castle Greyhawk. It was nerds who were goofy, who loved puns, who loved wordplay, who loved just throwing the dice and killing their friends. And I think that Castle Greyhawk is something that it's about a style of play and a state of mind and remembering Gary. That's how I see Castle Greyhawk.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I said at the end of my post on this, is I don't think I don't think we're ever going to see, quote unquote, the real Castle Greyhawk
because it didn't exist.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't exist in a form like that. It was something that Gary did with like his friends, his playtesters, and it existed at that point in time. We're not going to see that again. I mean, it's not to make a comparison. It's not Castle Ravenloft.
Right. Yeah. That's a great comparison.
I love Castle Ravenloft, but Castle Ravenloft is very defined, so well defined
because it came at a time in history where you needed to actually create things for production and publication that were well defined.
And it's great. And I mean, I love it. I have played Ravenloft so many times. I've run it so many times. I do not grow tired of it. And I even make the comment in here. It's like, are the puns in Castle Greyhawk any better or any worse than the graveyard puns in Castle Ravenloft? Not really. I think the difference is I expected more when it came to Castle Greyhawk, and I didn't get that. That first thing I got from him was this, which was very difficult not to see as a jab, at Gary's reputation, published 2 years after he had left the company.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
And I mean, even on, and outside of that, there's some, I love the idea of getting different authors to do different levels. And that was a
Yeah, I would like to
great
see
idea.
of the people that are around today. Let's pick who we'd like to see make some levels. I'm going to start with Zeb Cook.
Yes, Zeb would be great. Are we talking about classic guys or
Anybody. Let's do our fantasy football list of people who could make.
Okay, good.
Let's make a giant Castle Greyhawk and pick some people to make the levels.
Okay, here's who I want to do level 1. Keesley Dion.
Ooh,
From Shadow
good
Dark.
choice. Good choice.
And the reason is you need somebody who's got that. Look, you can like Shadow Dark, you can hate it, but there's one thing you cannot deny: nobody is as enthusiastic for the hobby as she is. I mean,
well, I can't quantify that, but I will say she's incredibly enthusiastic for the hobby and has the spirit and the love of it that matters.
That's right. So that's what you want. You want to be excited about going down that first level. I mean,
Right.
you want to be a first level fighter facing off against a giant rat and be genuinely terrified.
Well, I think
that it's a giant rat.
You've just hit on the litmus test for whether somebody should be included in this list, which is, are they doing it because they love gaming or because they want to do something fancy and special?
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean,
she loves gaming, so she's
it would be completely stripped down, threadbare level, and it would be perfect. It would be absolutely perfect. It'd be exactly what you need, because Castle Greyhawk's first level in our fantasy football league here of it should not be the most impressive one.
Right.
And I'm not saying she couldn't write it. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, she could. We've seen it already. But you want something that pulls you in and makes you want to hit those lower levels even more. If, that is, you can survive it. And there's no guarantee of that. So that's level 1. Let's say, I don't know how many levels we got, 12?
Oh, I don't know. We have 100, so we'll just stop when we feel like stopping.
Yeah.
So definitely, Kelsey.
Okay, right.
And Peter, jump in on this. Interrupt. If it's totally up to you. We already said Zeb.
Zeb's definitely,
I'm going to put Skip Williams in there.
Yeah, that's good.
Definitely. We got to have Tim do one.
Yes, that's true.
Although not too.
That'll be the cranky level.
Early. It'll be the cranky level, and it'll be the everybody dies level.
Everybody dies. He needs to do the last one. It's like, oh, you think you made it?
No.
Because we like the puns, I'm going to put Merle Rasmussen in for about level 5.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have the worst dad jokes ever.
And let's see. You got to have, I mean, just because he worked with him on Castle Zagig, you got to have Tlanen in there. He's got to do one.
Yes, I agree with that. I'd put it a little further down because he's going to give you something pretty killer.
Yeah, he is. He's good. Yeah.
Yep.
Steven and Davis, the Troll Lords.
Definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get them in there. They'd have to. Get
Joe
Block in there.
Joe Block
took the words right out of my mouth. Right out of my mouth.
I mean, the guy's forgotten more about this than I've ever known. So.
I think once you get a little further down, I'm going to have Flint Dilley on my card. Yes. He'll do the horror level, the one that's really scaring the crap out of you. I think that's what's going to happen there.
We would need a horror level. Who would we get to do that? Other than me, I mean.
I'm going to put Lawrence Schick.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Call him up. That's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Honestly, that is going to be good. He's still, I was explaining to my son. I mean, he knows this. I mean, he's just in his 20s. But we both play a lot of Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, yeah.
And I was explaining to him, Lawrence Schick's the guy who wrote some of this stuff. He wrote some of this for Baldur's Gate.
Wait a minute. We got people doing writing and stuff, but we got to get Alyssa Fadden in there somewhere with the map work.
I mean, Alyssa's just going to write some great stuff anyway.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, but definitely maps.
Well, as long as we're saying Alyssa, then I think Dyson Logos does a level.
Yes. Oh God, his work is so good.
Yeah, just have him do all the maps.
Well, he definitely does. I think he does a level for sure.
Yeah.
boy, who else can we put in here that's going to make some of these levels? There's a whole load of them that I'm thinking about right now. Monty Cook, let's get Monty Cook in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get Monty Cook in there for sure.
Right.
Oh boy, I'm liking this fantasy thing. I'm going to say that multiple levels of this, we should just say take the Memorial Tomb that Ernie Gygax did, and that's multiple levels because Ernie, when Ernie did the Memorial Tomb, he was working with a guy up in Canada who was doing a lot of the legwork on it, but it was all Ernie's ideas. Basically, this guy up in Canada, forget his name, don't care what his name is. I've dealt with him before. He's not a great dude, but
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but the point is, he managed to bring some of the stuff to life for Ernie.
Sure.
And Ernie obviously was channeling his dad on these, so he's going to do some levels. Luke 100% is going to do some levels. Let's wrap it up. Let's take one more fantasy creator for each of these.
Let me think about that.
Anybody in the chat is welcome to throw one in. We will put theirs in as well.
Do we think we can get Larry Elmore to do the cover?
Oh, of course he's going to do the cover. You can't.
Okay, right. It's a good pick there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I'd have to pull some guys up from my old witchcraft days.
Okay.
What about? So I know I've talked with Bill Webb a lot. Would he be a good one for doing a level? Is he a big D&D guy?
I just don't know him. So I can't say. I really can't say. But if I'm going to pull one more person out of a hat, come on, somebody beat me to it because I've got a few names in mind and I want to pick my favorite. So somebody beat me to it.
Go ahead. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. I got to admit.
I'm going to pull Rob Kuntz.
Oh, all right. There you go. Okay. Yeah. Well, that actually, now that you mentioned that, I'm actually a little disappointed in myself for not saying that one first.
All right.
I mean, he did a great, an interesting story about Rob Kuntz. He did an adventure called the Dark Druids, and I at pretty much the same time I'd published a Buffy adventure called the Dark Druid, and they came out at pretty much the same time, like I said, at the same time, and they're so very different. And I couldn't help but wonder, it's like, wouldn't it be cool if I could figure out a way to play both of these, like, do one in D&D and the other for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer system. But I actually rather liked his adventure, to be honest with you. So that's the best way.
All right, we've got some ones in the chat here. Who wants to call them out?
Let's see, we got Chris Perkins. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so that's both Brian Kowalczyk and David Benavides called out for Perkins.
Yeah.
And of course, we got Ed Greenwood.
Yes, that's Benavides again.
Yeah, I like it. I like Ed's work. And the older I get, the more appreciative I am of the stuff he was doing in those early Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I just read it now. Back then I would read them and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is good. But I didn't really make the connection between Ed Greenwood, who was doing these, and then later on the Ed Greenwood behind Forgotten Realms.
Yes. All right. I tell you what, I will wrap it up with my 4 final
all right, cool.
fantasy football ones. I'm going to give 1 level to Mike Merles.
Okay.
Going to give 1 level to Chris Lindsay.
Okay.
Definitely. I had 4 in my mind. I want to make sure I remember the third one before I say the last one that I was going to say. Keith Baker.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the last one I'm going to say on this list would be, ready for it? Can you take a guess? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? It's going. Come on. There's got to be a guess here at least, right?
I got nothing. I got to tell you, I got nothing.
Peter Atkinson.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody ever ends up with if Gary Gygax gets the title of creator of D&D, Peter Atkinson has to get the title of world's greatest D&D fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The ultimate fan.
Yeah.
Right.
Scott Congable said Douglas Niles.
Oh yeah, we'll
Niles. Oh,
throw him in there.
okay.
That's we
Baker,
got we got 100 levels, so let's keep putting them in the chat.
Yeah.
And for people who are in our Patreon, we are going to go to the after party after this in Discord, so you can bring more names into there. Tim, thank you for bringing your awesome article to us tonight.
Great.
Everybody, how can they find your blog?
I am online at what is it? timsbrandon.com.
There we go.
Okay.
BRANNAN.
Right. I think I can throw it in the chat over in
All right,
Facebook.
cool.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
go there.
Thanks,
There's
everybody.
That and my education blog too.
Hey, anybody looking for me? I'm not going to be in the Discord tonight. I am going to Florida at like 4:00 in the morning, so I'm going to bed.
Wow.
You're gonna go tickle the mouse.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tickle the mouse? What is it? Oh yeah, I got you. No, we're not going to Disney. Not going to. We're going just Universal.
Okay,
Nice.
You're gonna tickle the whatever they have at Universal.
And Tim, you would love this. We're going to Halloween Horror Nights. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was just sitting thinking 1 year ago today, my wife and I were in Jamaica. So for our 30th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
So that was something.
Very good.
And
I was in Jamaica, but it was Jamaica Queens because I was flying out of JFK. So
it's not the same thing. No.
I've been to Jamaica Queens. Good food there.
All right, everybody. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here. Looking forward to coming back.
Absolutely looking forward to having you back. And good night, everybody. Those who will see you on the Patreon, I will see you on the Patreon.
Yep.
And everybody else, we will see you next week. Not the Patreon,
cool.
the Discord. I know what I'm saying.
Discord.
Good night, everybody.
See y'all. Thanks.